$600,000. Almost 1/3 of our central office staff has been cut for a savings of over $600,000. We have started at the top. We have reduced our local units from 42 to 5. And there is not one of those decisions that was easy. And it's not taken lightly. Today, there is an ever-widening gap between what you say you can do and what you are able to do.
Next question, we'll begin with Mr. Allen. Based on what you've learned during your time as superintendent, will there be anything you do differently during a second term as superintendent?
Some things I might do differently are to continue to build relationships. I found that that is a major part of the superintendent's job, and that's to continually build relationships. And when I talk about building relationships, I'm not just talking about with parents or with the supervisors at the central office, or the teachers, but it's a whole group relationship, building it with the community. Our community is special. It's unique because of not only the people we have in our organization, but because of the people in Cullman County community. And we need to keep it that way. But there are still relationships out there that I need to build, that I need to grow, and that I need to improve on. I need to do a better job at communicating. And I don't know the best way to do that, but I find that to be difficult to communicate to everyone because today we have less resources, we have less personnel, and obviously we have less money. So to communicate effectively, it takes a little more money. It takes a few more people that you can rely on, and it takes a few more resources. Now there are ways that we can do that, and I'll search for ways to do that. So I think for me to do a better job at communicating and building or continuing to build relationships that we need, partnerships that we need to have a great school system. A school system that today is our purpose, vision, and mission is to provide a quality education for every student every day. I would like for us to increase that or advance that thought to say that we are providing a high quality education for every student every day. That takes money, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes more resources and more money. So we will continue to pursue that route so that our school system can be the best in the state.
You're going to rephrase that a little?
Yes. Mr. Cullman, how will your leadership style differ from that of Mr. Allen's?
Well, I'm certainly not going to comment on the wonderful leadership style of Mr. Allen. I'll tell you how my leadership style, I think, will differ from many that have come before. Communication is going to be a huge part, and I've said that from day one. I mentioned the breakfast once a month for the business community to communicate with them. I'm going to have community meetings once a semester and go into the community, let them know what's going on in the schools, listen to what they have to say, where their needs are. Let them ask tough questions that I will have to answer and be accountable for. I'm going to visit every school once a month, which is going to be very difficult because I think there are 28, and to do that it's going to be tough. But I'm going to do it, and at the end of 4 years, that's going to be 48 visits because I'm committed to that. I want to encourage teachers. I want to see where the needs are. I want to answer questions there in the school. So I've talked about community and business and schools. We're going to do a newsletter once a month where we're going to reach out to as many people as we possibly can to get the word out, to communicate. I think that is so very important. And what I've described is not going to cost any money. It's going to cost some time. It's going to cost some effort. But driving out to the schools and meeting with parents, those are things that I am totally committed to doing. And this is things that's different from all administrations. I mean, There's no way I'm going to be critical. I know these are tough times right now. But those are things that I'm absolutely committed to doing. I think that are going to be extremely different, and we're going to reach out. I met with Dr. Harris yesterday for 2 hours, and given the opportunity, there's going to be a partnership there that has never been between the city and the county. We're going to work together, pool some resources, bring some businesses in with both schools involved, because in the end, it's all about kids. As I said, we're going to have to think outside the box. And the things that I've just told you are not going to cost, And so I think we've got to look and see how we can meet needs with that low cost. But there's a few. Thanks. I remember this time.
I have a little follow-up on that. What are specifically some of the things you think you could work with the city school system on behalf of the county schools?
Well, for example, if a speaker's brought in, we could pull our resources and meet. That can be very expensive, but specifically what we talked about was some at-risk kids. The same problems that the kids at Cullman are dealing with in their lives are the same problems the county kids are. So why can't we do a seminar that, for example, we talked about how parents need to know how their kids are using cell phones and computers and Facebook, and have a seminar for parents of both schools. Bring some people in that have expertise in the area. I'm sure there are people right here in our own communities that would love to do that for free. And we could meet together and do. There's a couple of specifics. I only have a minute. So, but there's some others too. But that would be an example of what I'm talking about.
Stay with me. You're next on the agenda here.
Does Mr. Allen want to follow up a minute?
David, sorry, Mr. Allen, did you want to?
On that follow-up question?
Yes. Just in terms of responding to that one, David, just in terms of partnerships or whatever.
Okay, so I'm following up. I'm answering the follow-up question.
What are some specific steps that the county schools and city schools can work together?
Just as a professional courtesy, Dr. Harris and I always inform each other of events that we could share in. One example, and it's just one because there are many, but one example is the Faith and Freedom workshop that we went through a couple of years ago, and what we've been able to do with that since then. And she and I have communicated back and forth as to what one or the other is doing to promote that, and we've been very well pleased with the results from it. One is that I wanted to adopt a project program that would include faith-based, so that the schoolhouse door was open to faith-based folks to come into our school, and within the framework of what Faith and Freedom taught us, we were able to then make that happen. And so most recently we've had a person to come to us asking us about the Amen group, and I see the arm back there, so we'll call it Amen on that, but that's up and coming.
Mr. Cullman?
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on school consolidation as a cost-cutting measure? And if that is considered, what would be your next step in that regard?
I'm glad you asked that question, because somebody called the other day and said, well, I heard you're closing all those little schools and stuff. And I said, well, I guess that means shutting down the maintenance department didn't stick or something. But I love the spirit of the community around those schools. I remember when Logan, Jones Chapel, and Dowling were all three satellite schools at Fed West Point. I got to go out to Garden City this week and was blessed at the little school that they were honoring. There was a lady there that was 100 years old that went to that school. When I was at Brewer as a football coach, there are 6 of those satellite schools at Feed Brewer High School. I got to tell you that I love what those schools bring to those communities. And I would like to not even consider that. And if so, it would be the very last thing, because I think that is a long-term savings, and I think what we're looking for is short-term. We got to remember that in short-term, those kids have to be housed. First, they have to be housed in temporary structures, and then permanent structures have to be built. All the faculty members at those schools have tenure, so they're going to have to be placed. The possible benefits of a cost analysis, I think, would show the long-term benefits, maybe. But short-term, I think it would be a cost. I believe this economy is going to get better. And I'm going to do everything in my power to see that those schools remain in those communities, because they are the heartbeat of those communities. And if it were high schools consolidating, you could argue the fact that, well, you know, they're getting to take physics and chem, but those are young kids, and they're getting great attention at those schools, and that would be absolutely, without a doubt, the last thing that I'd want to do.
That is a difficult subject, because you're talking about people's lives and their investment in the community when you're talking about those small schools. I attended a small school. There were 36 people in my graduating class. So that one-on-one can't be replaced at a larger school setting. I was privileged to make a speech to the graduating class at Garden City, and I told them that there were more valedictorians and salutatorians that came out of feeder schools than their counterpart at the larger schools. And that's true if we look at Welty feeding Holly Pond, Garden City feeding Hanceville, and Hanceville will get a few Welty students as well. But a lot of your valedictorians and salutatorians will come from those feeder schools, because there is a more one-on-one. The safety and security is better at those small schools. And just the passion of the small community setting. If you've never been to a chicken dinner at Garden City or Welty or even Parkside, you need to go sometimes and experience that, because it's a great experience for you as a community person here in this community, but to go out to those small communities and then go back a month or two later and tell those schools that you're going to consolidate them, tell them that you're going to close them down. It's something that will have to be assessed, studied, reassessed, and studied again. And it'll have to be done very cautiously, so that we are certain that we are making the right decision for our students and that community. And again, that is a terribly, terribly difficult decision that will have to be made.
All right, Mr. Allen, along the lines of the budget issues we've been discussing, another key topic in education is testing for students, and kind of looking at those